Hey folks, welcome to Visiting Vegas. Today, we're going to take you on the ultimate Elvis tour of Las Vegas. Whether you're a die-hard Elvis fan, curious after having just seen the Elvis movie of 2022, or just someone interested in unique spots in the city, then this video is for you. As much as shakerag influenced Elvis the musician, Vegas influenced Elvis the stage performer. We'll walk you through some of the stories of Elvis in different Vegas locations and show you where you can find them today. Before we get into our Elvis tour of Vegas, you may have noticed the gold ribbon on the lower right of your screen. September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we're going gold. All revenue earned from all videos we post this month will be donated to our favorite childhood cancer charity, and more details will be linked on screen at the end of this video. We felt it appropriate to include our Elvis in Vegas video as part of this program, as it was in Vegas on May 9th, 1972, where after his midnight show of September 8th, Elvis held a press conference to announce an upcoming concert in Hawaii that would be beamed via satellite around the world. All proceeds from the show and souvenir sales would be donated to the Kui Lee Cancer Fund. Lee was a singer-songwriter whose songs included I'll Remember You, that Elvis would sing in what came to be known as the Aloha from Hawaii special, and would be seen by over 1 billion people when it first aired. If you haven't seen the Baz Luhrmann Elvis film, I highly recommend it, but if you have seen it, there's a scene where Elvis fires Colonel Tom on stage in Vegas.
You are fired! You are fired! You're fired!
That scene was a compilation of several true events. The inspiration from the stage scene came from Elvis's September 3rd, 1973 show. Elvis had become friends with a waiter at the Hilton named Mario, and had recently visited his home to pray for Mario's wife, who was battling cancer. Elvis learned that the Hilton was going to fire Mario, and this is what Elvis actually said on stage that night.
There's a guy here that works in an Italian restaurant. His name is Mario. And these people are getting ready to fire him as soon as I leave. And I don't want him to go. I think he needs a job. And I think the Hiltons are bigger than that. No disrespect, I just want to wake up Conrad and tell him about Mario's job, that's all.
Afterwards, in private, Colonel Tom confronted Elvis, telling him it was unprofessional, and that led to the brief firing of Colonel Tom. Elvis had a long-standing philanthropic relationship with the fight on cancer, and that relationship specifically included the fight against childhood cancer as well. On June 28, 1957, Elvis joined Danny Thomas's Shower of Stars charity event, which drew more than 14,000 donors and helped provide the funds for the initial construction of St. Jude's in Memphis. Later, in 1964, Elvis purchased FDR's yacht, which then would be auctioned off with the proceeds going to St. Jude's. We're proud to follow in the King's footsteps in our own little way in being able to help in this fight against childhood cancer. Our Elvis tour of Vegas starts in 1956. 4 months after signing at RCA, Elvis would play a 2-week gig at the Frontier, starting on April 23, 1956. The reception of the mostly middle-aged crowd was not a favorable one. However, Elvis wasn't the first to bomb at the venue. In 1954, a movie actor named Ronald Reagan debuted his nightclub show at the Frontier and faced a similar cold response. But the careers of both Elvis and Reagan would be okay after these setbacks. We'll come back to the Frontier and show you the location today a little later in this video. This first visit to Vegas was still formative for Elvis. During his time in Vegas, Elvis went to see Freddie Bell and the Bellboys, and amongst the songs they performed was Hound Dog, which Elvis would then add to his repertoire and record later that summer. Elvis also met Liberace and would establish a long friendship with the performer. Upon returning to Memphis in the summer of '56, Elvis told a local reporter, "Man, I really like Vegas. I'm going back there the first chance I get." That first chance would come in November 1956, as Elvis returned to Vegas, this time just as a customer. He came to see his friend Liberace's new show. Liberace advised Elvis that he needed more glitz, and soon after, Elvis began touring in a new $2,500 gold leaf suit that was modeled after one of Liberace's. The glamorous stage performer was born. Elvis was in the Army from 1958 to 1960, but would soon return to Vegas. Throughout his busy movie schedule of the early 60s, Elvis would visit the Sahara whenever a movie would wrap. It was on a June 1960 weekend trip to Vegas after filming GI Blues that a Las Vegas columnist observed Elvis and his friends walking the strip and dubbed them as the Memphis Mafia, a term that sticks to this day. When Priscilla made her first visit to Los Angeles in 1961, the first thing the two did was drive to the Sahara. Later that same year, Elvis would celebrate the Christmas holidays at the Sahara, staying for a month and ultimately celebrating his 27th birthday there in January '62. You can find a picture of that birthday celebration in the lobby of the Sahara today. In July 1963, Elvis would film Viva Las Vegas at the Frontier while he stayed at the Sahara during the shoot. While it's went through many renovations and expansions, the Sahara still sits at its original site. Like most things Vegas, the Frontier continued to evolve and develop, and then, in November 2007, it was imploded to make way for something new. That something new has yet to evolve, and the site of the Frontier can now be observed just across from the Wynn. It's this empty plot of land. On May 1st, 1967, Elvis and Priscilla would be married at the Aladdin in Vegas. The Aladdin would stand until 1997, when it would be closed, imploded, and then replaced with the new Aladdin, which would be built on the site. Today, that property is known as Planet Hollywood. However, there is another Elvis wedding chapel that still survives. The Little Church of the West was originally opened in 1943 and is the only building on the Vegas Strip that's listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Originally part of the Frontier complex, it was moved to the Hacienda in 1979 and then to its current home just south of Mandalay Bay in 1996. In the film Viva Las Vegas, this is where Elvis and Anne Margaret's characters get married. The chapel still functions today, performing over 6,000 weddings a year. And of course, no Elvis tour of Vegas would be complete without mentioning the International Hotel. Here, Elvis would resume live performances in 1969 and continue to perform residencies doing 2 shows a night for 30 days straight every 6 months for the next 7 years. Elvis's legacy lives on in the property, which is known as the Westgate today, with this statue, various posters. The showroom has added a new stage atop the one that Elvis once graced, but left bare the spot where he would stand before coming on stage each night. If you're lucky enough, you can even visit the 30th floor, where Elvis's suite has now been divided into several high roller suites and remodeled, but you can still get a sense of the king. In Elvis's Vegas residencies, not only did Vegas again have an impact on Elvis the stage performer, but here is a place where Elvis significantly impacted the city as well. In 1969, Kirk Kerkorian fathered the modern mega resort with the building of the International. It would be the largest hotel in the world and would feature a main showroom larger than anything Vegas had ever seen. The questions were, could you fill a property that size, and can you fill a showroom that size? And as this plaque at the Westgate commemorates, thanks to an Elvis residency, the answers to both were yes. Kerkorian would sell the International to Hilton, and then in 1973 would open a new largest hotel in the world called the MGM Grand Hotel, which he then would sell to Bally Manufacturing, who had renamed the property as Bally's, and today it is the Horseshoe. Next, Krikorian would build a new MGM Grand in 1993, which is the MGM Grand that we currently know. Simultaneously, older properties were imploded and new mega resorts with large theaters sprung up along the Strip as the model that now dominates Vegas. The road from the Westgate to Las Vegas Boulevard today is appropriately named Elvis Presley Boulevard. And on the Vegas Walk of Stars, you'll find Elvis's star in front of the Paris Las Vegas Hotel and Casino. Other Elvis sightings in the city may include the Vegas variation of Zoltar known as the King, which you'll encounter several places in town. There's plenty of Elvis slots, like this one at Resorts World downtown. And of course, tribute shows. Travis Allen's All Shook Up currently plays nightly at Alexis Park Resort. Donnie Edwards' Next Best Thing to the King plays periodically at South Point Casino. And there's Pete Valley's Big Elvis currently on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at Harrah's. If you're visiting in the summer, be sure to check for information on Elvis Fest. Elvis Fest typically runs in July and is the time that Elvi from around the world flock to Vegas for this event. Folks, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If there are any of your favorite Elvis spots that we missed or anything else that you'd like to see covered in the future, then put that in the comments below. I mentioned earlier that I'd provide a link to more on our Go Gold initiative, and that's available in this video. Here's a second suggested video as well, and if you aren't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate you subscribing. Most importantly, I hope that you have a great time visiting Vegas, and we'll see you soon.